What happens if you lose, Nick?
Who the hell is Aquaman?
I get Fruity Pebbles, Cocoa Pebbles, I get sausage biscuits. Maybe you guys will see a little footage of that later on because we got some good stuff.
Fill up the deuces. There you go, baby.
Hey, boys and girls, good afternoon. Welcome to Cape Side Christopher James. I am Christopher James, and you guys are here, and we're going to have us a party, man. Welcome to the show, man. It is Thursday right here in beautiful Tampa, Florida. A little rainy outside today, but that's all right, man. Some news dropped today. My man Jacob Kilburn got signed with the PFL. He's stepping in for Brock Weaver because Brock Weaver had to pull out undisclosed reasons. But he's getting the opportunity to fight at PFL, and as long as he wins, I'm pretty sure he's got a contract for a couple of years, so that's awesome. And that's good news. We got no UFC fights this weekend, but that's okay because we're going to talk to a UFC fighter right now. I've had the pleasure of announcing this guy locally for V3 fights, and we knew back then that he was going to be a star. He actually turned down something to make sure that he stayed on the V3 card because he's got integrity and honor. He could have moved on to the UFC ahead of that fight, but he didn't. He chose to stay home, fight locally in front of his friends and family, and that was awesome. And, that stuff is just more training, more practice, more learning before he got to the big show. So we are happy to have him on board. He's been on with us before. Like I said, we love him. He's just a good dude. He's just coming back from his honeymoon. He recently married a little while back, and he didn't have time for a honeymoon. Then he went and had a big fight at the UFC, won him some $50K, so I'm sure that made the fucking honeymoon a lot more fun. And periodically during this interview, we might see a cat run by. I'm just telling you guys, but it doesn't matter because if you're allergic like me, it's at Billy's studio, not mine. So we're good. But we're going to bring him in right now. He is absolutely on the rise, and we love him to death. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show for once again, my man Billy Quarantillo. Billy, what's up, baby?
Hey, Chris, how's it going, brother?
Oh, I'm happy to be alive today. We're blessed, man. We're all alive today. God gave us the opportunity to wake up. I'm not overly religious, but I believe in God, and God allowed us, you and me and some other people, to wake up today. So with that, life's good. Everything else is just window dressing crap and bullshit that everybody gets caught up in. But before we get into the fight and everything else and what is coming up for you, you finally got to go on the honeymoon, bro. You finally got to go. So tell us where you went and tell us give us like one highlight thing from it, and make sure it's not a highlight from the bedroom because that's a different show.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, we just had such a great time. And I know people were talking a lot about the honeymoon because, I mentioned it to the guys before the fight. So, during our fight, they were talking a lot about it. So put a little pressure on me. But no, it was all good. It was an incredible time. We went to the Virgin Islands. So we went to the U.S. side. We went to St. Thomas and St. John's. Definitely the highlight was like the first day we went. Just one of the highlights. Every day we just had a great time. We were just drinking, going to the beaches, relaxing, letting my body heal up, which was good. The first day was amazing. We went on like a boat tour, and it was like us, me and my wife, and like 8 other people, and everyone was super cool. We were drinking the whole time, and we were basically just going to like island to island, and every stop we were like going scuba diving and going to like all like the beach bars. And we went by, which it definitely wasn't the highlight, but it was definitely interesting. We went by Epstein Island, which, you've probably seen on like the documentaries and all like the stuff about him, which I've definitely followed it. It's very interesting to see like, and to kind of hear about like, who was going there and what he was all about, just an evil person. But just to see it in person, it was like, oh man, it was kind of creepy. But besides that, everything else was just amazing on our honeymoon. That was definitely an interesting part. And that whole tour and going to all the different beaches and just taking a week off just to hang out with just me and my wife, it was really cool. And now I'm back and I'm ready to get back to work.
Yeah, man. Well, that's awesome. My wife and I went on a trip on a cruise a few years back, and we did the Bahamas and shit like that. And, we went on a little boat tour, and they driving us by, the boat sailing by all these like houses, celebrity houses, and they showed us a Chuck Norris house, and there was no neighbors on either side. And I was like, man, those people are smart. They know we don't want to live next to Chuck. If we turn our music up too loud, Chuck gonna fuck us up.
Yeah, you don't want that Chuck Norris problem.
No, nobody wants a Chuck Norris problem. And then the other cool part was Oprah had 2 houses out there. I'm not a big Oprah fan, but she had these 2 huge houses. I'm going, man, maybe my talk show will make me rich like that one day, so I could have 2 houses in the
Yeah,
Bahamas.
get a house in between her.
That I'm not even in. I mean, she wasn't even there. The houses,
Yeah.
like the guy on the boat said, the houses were like dormant. Like she's never there, but she owns the houses, so that was kind of cool.
Wow.
But yeah, it's cool to see stuff like that. Like, so seeing that Epstein Island, yeah, it's a little creepy, but definitely a cool thing that you could say that you did. So I'm all about that.
Yeah.
So before we get into the fight, one more personalized, little insight to Billy Q question. So you're married, you went on the honeymoon. So are we going to be expecting, are you guys looking to start doing any little Billy Qs coming up here soon, or is that on the?
Yeah, no. We're definitely open to it. We dated for a long time. So I think we did it right. We basically waited till we both knew, like, I want to be with you forever. And so we're definitely at the point. I'm 32, she's 33. So we're definitely trying. So we'll see what happens, and
we're trying.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't feel like I'm in like a huge rush, because I'm sure like the moment she tells me that we're gonna have a kid, I'm gonna probably go into like overdrive, and I probably won't sleep again until that the child's 18 years old. But yeah, I think I'm ready. I'm ready for it. She's ready for it. I've done what I've wanted to do. I've put myself in a good position in my career, and we kind of got our lives in balance. And I think we would, we'd do all right as parents.
I think you would, man. And I would say for a couple of, I met your wife once when you guys were dating, when you came to V3. I might have met her twice. I don't remember, but I know I definitely met her once, talked to her. She's a lovely lady. Look at you hanging out with the older girls too. I like the way you did that, bro.
Yeah, 1 year older. Yeah, and she's a nurse too, so it's perfect for me.
So it's perfect. That means when you do have a baby, she'll be there. They'll probably give her good health care at the hospital she works at and all that stuff. You'll be all set up. Every time I talk to people about having babies, I always like to tell this story. Howie Mandel, the comedian, and now he hosts on America's Got Talent. I remember watching a stand-up special, and I was probably like 18, I don't know, maybe a little older, not much. So we're talking a long time ago, because I'm 52. But he walks out on stage, and the opening of the show, everybody's clapping. It's Howie Mandel. He's still out his hair and everything, and he walks out. And he goes, "Hey, everybody, good evening, and I just want to let everybody know, I just became a father." And everybody clapped for but everybody's clapping for him. He goes, "Oh, it's no big deal. I just fucked my wife," and I almost hit myself, dude. So every time I talk to people about babies, that's the story that always pops in my head. I said at the beginning, I know you were in the back thing watching. I just spoke about Jacob Kilburn, who
that's awesome.
He just got signed with PFL. It's kind of funny that that happened to him, and then you're happening today. He's watching the show right now, and he just wanted to tell you that he's a Billy fan for life over here.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Even though you beat him up,
Yeah, shout out to Jacob Kilburn, man. I'm glad you're watching. He's a great, super humble before and after the fight. No bad blood. He fought me, on short notice. I was able to get the win, but he's doing great. He looked a lot better. He looked good in his other UFC fight, and he's fighting the best guys in the world. He's going over to the PFL, so good for him. They're doing a lot of big things. They're on ESPN too, so that's a huge opportunity, and I wish him the best.
Yeah, I wish him the best too. He went through a little trouble there. The Kentucky Commission screwed him over a couple of weeks ago. He was supposed to fight a Titan.
Oh, okay.
And then he had to get pulled because he had pulled from another fight in Kentucky, and the Kentucky Commission suspended him for that, which they had no right to do. And they only reversed the suspension after Titan had replaced him. So that cost cost Jacob a title fight. And then he was supposed to get a PFL contract if he won that fight. So now we didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then, unfortunately, Brock Weaver had to pull out from PFL. And he was going to fight Brandon Jenkins. Brock pulled out. They replaced him with Jacob. So Jacob ended up, I guess, where he was supposed to be. So that's a good thing.
Perfect.
Good guys like him and like yourself that, do things the right way. I believe things will always work out for you guys because you do it the right way. So, happy for Jacob. And
yeah, me too.
Even though you beat him up, whatever, But like you said,
it's part of the game.
It's part of the game. No, I know it. It's funny because like when Jacob writes, he's a Billy fan for life. He's not just saying that. Jacob is one of the most humble, honorable people I've ever met in my life, and I feel blessed to know him. Same way I feel about you. So now let's talk about you, man. So you get on this last fight, and I'm watching this fight, and I'm sitting at home and I'm watching on thing, and also before I talk about that fight. my boy Forrest Daniels, who's the biggest supporter of my show, he said, Billy Q, you make picking the winner of the fights easy. So,
Thanks, Forrest.
Forrest, and the Devil's Lettuce is coming out, dude. This is a hybrid of like, whatever shit here. It's like 31%.
Just getting it out.
So he always asks me what I'm smoking. So
nice.
You get into this fight, right? And you're out there doing your thing, and you're on your back, and you're working from the back, and the only other person I've seen that really worked that hard from their back and got a win from their back that wasn't a submission was Nico Price. Nico Price has done it twice. Once against James Vick with an up kick.
Yeah.
And once against Randy Brown with hammer fist from, the bomb position and knocked the dude out.
Yeah.
The UFC put up this video like last year or the year before about all the finishes from the back, including one like Kevin Holland and Jacare, but Kevin Holland got on top. So there's only 3 in my mind from the bottom.
Yeah.
And that's 2 from Nico and 1 from Billy. All Florida fighters, all putting Florida on the map. So take us through what was going on in your head, because I know you're comfortable on your back. You've got great jiu-jitsu, and you can work from the ground, obviously. But take us through that moment. You're on your back and you're laying out these punches, and you got to be feeling it in your head that I'm going to finish this guy while I'm laying on my back and punching him and shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was definitely. So I felt going into that fight, it was my 5th fight at the Apex. So I've already fought there a bunch of times. I fought there in the Contender Series, and then all of last year I fought there 3 more times, and then I fought there again. So I was weirdly comfortable. Like you get nervous before a fight, but I had a feeling. I'm like, man, I feel like I'm just gonna smoke this guy. I like that play on smoking word. All right, so I feel like I'm gonna smoke this guy. And so right before the fight, I knew going into it that I wanted to mix in takedowns, mix in the grappling. I know he's a good striker. So right before the fight started, I had this weird feeling. I'm like, I'm just going to go out there. And in my head, I'm like, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to rock him with a big punch. I'm going to take his back and I'm going to choke him and finish it with a rear naked choke, right away. That's what I was in my head. I'm like, and that's weird, because usually I don't think like that. I usually just think go fight your ass off. Usually it's go just handle business, do what you ever have to do. So sure enough, we go out there and we're moving around, and I land a couple big punches, and then I drop him, and I drop him. I'm like, oh man, I'm going to finish him right here. And I'm ground and pounding him, and he turns over, and I take his back, and I'm in my head, I'm like, this is what you just thought about. You put that in your head. So then I'm on his back, I got him in the body lock, and I'm trying for that rear naked choke finish, and I'm not getting it. So I'm just working, not getting it. And then when he turned into me in the first round, I was still landing punches, but you're not really thinking about finishing a fight from there. So I was still looking for the choke. I'm really just throwing punches just to kind of kind of wear him out, kind of beat him up a little bit. And then he turns into me, and at this point he's on top. So then I'm thinking, oh shit, now we're going to be in a dog fight, which was going to be my second, plan B. You're not going to be able to take his back and smite him right away. So you're going to be in a dog fight. So now I'm thinking, oh, here we go. Now we're going to end up beating the shit out of each other. So I get back up. We start going back and forth, trading with each other. The second round goes by. Going into the third round, I felt comfortable with the grappling, and I was able to take his back each round. But I didn't expect to finish from his back, on my back, until the third round. I bust him open with a big elbow, cut him really bad. His face was a mess. And I took his back, and I was still trying to look for the choke, but I was just softening him up with strikes. And then the referee, Mark Smith, who's a great referee, he goes, yeah, he's seeing what I'm seeing. And I know earlier in the fight, the doctor told him, if he'd take a lot of damage, we're going to stop the fight. They never told me that, of course. They didn't tell me that, or else I would have been, hitting him more. But when I was on his back, I'm landing those strikes, and Mark Smith is like, defend yourself. We're going to stop the fight. And then I was like, oh my God. I'm like, they're going to stop this fight. And then I just started punching him as many times as I could, because I knew it was worse than I thought it was. His face was just a mess, and he was just, he really couldn't defend himself. So at that point, when he was like, yeah, we're going to stop the fight, I'm like, oh, here we go then. And I kind of knew I was going to be able to finish it.
You said something in the beginning of that conversation right there where you thought about it. Normally you just go out there, I'm going to fight. Mm-hmm. So now you thought about it. You I guess, for lack of a better term, you manifested what was going to happen to some degree. And you said that's something new for you. Do you think that's attributed to your growth as a mixed martial artist and being in the octagon so many times now that you don't just go out there like you did in the beginning, where I'm just going to go out there and fucking punch you and do this or whatever and get to where I got to get to, where now your brain is starting to really be in full sync with your body and it's telling you, all right, this is where we're going. So do you think that's attributed to the time and the dedication you put into the sport and your maturity as both a man and as a fighter?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with that. And, I've had some good training camps, and I think it was a combination between my experience now, my comfort at the Apex, and also how much we studied Gabriel Benitez. Like, I watched all of his fights. I watched every single fight that was available. I watched all of his UFC fights. I've watched he's been taken down in 2 different fights, and each of those times he got taken down several times, but no one was able to control him on the ground. We watched that over and over and over and over and over again. And especially, he's one of those guys that he's really good at what he does, but he does it a lot. He's really good. He's got a really good jab. He's got a really good 1-2. Every time he goes against a righty, he steps to his right when he throws the 1-2 to kind of square himself up. So he's got really good left kicks, left kicks to the leg, left kicks to the body. So I felt so comfortable knowing what he was going to do. And right before the fight, I just felt, I'm like, he's going to do the same thing over he's been doing. And we've prepared ourselves for that. And sure enough, when the fight started, he did exactly what we thought he was going to do. I checked his first inside low kick. Then he threw a body kick and I got out of the way. And then I started faking my takedowns and he started kind of overreacting to those. So it just felt like from the beginning that the fight started, I felt, I'm a different level or more synced with just kind of knowing more than I usually know. You know what I mean? I felt more comfortable. I felt at a different speed almost.
That's great. The way you're describing it reminds me of a scene in Any Given Sunday with Al Pacino and Jamie Foxx, where, like he said, everything all of a sudden just becomes slow motion. And he's seeing all this stuff, even though everything's going at, 1,000 miles an hour, he's still able to see that. And I kind of think that, when I heard that description in that movie, I've heard athletes talk about that before. And I think that's kind of where you're at right now. I think you are so in tune with who you are, what you're doing, and trusting in the process that your coaches have laid out for you as far as how you're training, what you're training for, the studying you're doing. I mean, it's all just coming together. And it's so beautiful to watch because from our end, as people in the media or fans that are watching, we see the fluidity in you. At least I do. I see this fluidity. I see a level of confidence in you that I've always seen because, like I said, I saw you at V3. So you always had that, but it's even at a different level now. And I think you are so coming into your prime right now, and people should be really looking out for you because your star is on the rise. I think, a numbered person has to be next. I mean, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be, it's got to be someone to me in the top 20. So whether that's top 15, whether that's right outside of that, Landau Venata kept saying he wanted to fight me. And then one day he wanted to fight me and I messaged him right back. I was like, let's do it, man. And then the next day, which this all happened earlier this week, then the next day after saying I'd be his number 1 fight, he said he booked someone else. So that was a guy who's, right outside of the top 15 because he's new to the division. He's 1-0 in the division. But that would be an exciting fight, especially if we're able to do it at MSG where, he squeaked out a draw against Matt Frivola, my teammate. I was there for that. We all thought Matt won the fight.
I love the Air Frivola shirt that you're wearing right there. Good for your boy, dude. That's a badass shirt. I haven't seen that one yet. So that's a limited edition.
Shout out to my guys on the 6 stringers. A bunch of one of the guys who trains with Matty up in Long Island. He made this shirt, and I was like, man, what a ridiculous shirt. And I love it. I'll rock my boy, until I die.
Oh hell yeah, dude. So you go out there, you get this win off your back. After, and of course, you get the 50,000 bonus, you go back, you do a couple interviews, you take the pictures with your teammates, all that stuff. Was there a moment after that where you had a moment alone where, maybe you're sitting in the bathroom taking a dump or whatever it was, where you just sat there and went, I just finished this guy off my fucking back with fucking punches. I'm fucking dope. And it's okay to have that moment, because you should. You earned the right to say, I'm fucking dope. Did you have a moment like that?
Well, it was just the whole, after I found out at dinner, we were with dinner with my manager, Jason House, and with my head coach, Matt Arroyo, and Dan Rawlings and Matt Frivola, like the whole crew was there. I was still kind of in shock when they told me because, every fight you hope to get it. I've had some good fights, but just bouncing off the loss to Gavin Tucker, winning this fight, the moment where it hit me. So after every fight, I can never sleep. Like the day of the fight, usually it's late. Usually we're going out to drink, and usually I'm banged up, especially for like the Spike Carlisle fight and this fight. I was really, really banged up. And so like, I never sleep. Like I probably slept like 20 minutes the whole night after. So I think the moment for me this time was when it was probably like around like 1 or 2 in the morning. I finally laid down. I'm just all beat up. And then that was like the first time I was really alone the whole day. And then I'm just looking at like what people were saying, like the messages. And I actually watched the fight back, because it's on ESPN Plus, you're able to watch it right back now. And even when I win fights, I am so critical of myself. I don't like to watch the fights like right after. Like I'll wait a few days. I'll wait a week. I'll watch it with my team, like, the next weekend. But even when I win, it's like listening to yourself talk. Like, you're just like, I'm like, oh man, like you're always so critical. But this time I was like, man, I'm just so happy I got a win. And I was coming off a loss. And I remembered moments from the fight that I'm like, oh man, like that must have been sick. That would have been cool. Like the examples were when I dropped him in the first round. And then the second round, I hit him with like a jumping knee that like landed perfectly, like bounced his head back. And then I was even excited to see when he dropped me. I was excited to see it because he dropped me in the third round. And I was like, what happened on that?
That's
because
the
like
first time I've ever heard a fighter say, oh no, the second time. Nico did say him and I forgot Jeff Neal, they punched each other in the face at the same time and they went down. He goes, I like watching that highlight. But it's weird to hear you say like that part where I got knocked out. I fucking like that shit.
I wanted to watch that. Yeah. I was like, what happened on that? Like, because they asked me after, and we were beating the shit out of each other. So that the media asked me after, and they're like, did that like rock you, or did you trip? And I'm like, I know it didn't rock me to the point, because like I've gotten hit hard, obviously, in punches, with punches, with kicks, whatever. And I'm like, I remember it just being like he hit me and my back hit the ground. I'm like, oh, he knocked me over, but he didn't like rock me. And then I went back and watched it, and sure enough, I was throwing a right kick, and it was like halfway through, and he punched me, and I was like a little bit off balance, but he just knocked me back. And then he goes to try to like, land his punches, and right away I like was comfortable, like locked him back up. But yeah, that was the moment where I like couldn't sleep at night. I watched some of the highlights back, and I knew at that point, obviously, that I got the performance of the night bonus. So I was just so ecstatic, and I still didn't sleep that night. I woke up the next morning. Me and Matt went out on the strip, but it was, it was a surreal moment. It really almost hasn't even hit me yet, because they take a few weeks to send that actual bonus. Like I got like my fight purse and everything, but I haven't really got the bonus yet. So it still hasn't really hit me, but I have to obviously be humble, because this is my first fight this year. I still have a long way to go, and I went years being super broke. So this is kind of just making up for lost time.
Yeah, and it's good, like I said, those who do things right end up being rewarded in their careers or in their personal lives for always, going down the right path. Yeah, it does suck that you haven't gotten that 50K yet. Can you guys get like Billy is 50K, man? He just
dude, you know
married.
What?
He's got to recover some honeymoon money. Can you go hook a brother up?
You would think that, and maybe I would think that like, oh man, like I want that money right away. But they, like I said, they gave me my show money and my win money. Sure. And I'm okay with, as long as it comes, obviously it's going to come, it's a UFC. It's not like some of these promotions, but not a stab at anyone, but
where you take that check and you go to the bank and you're like, boing, boing, boing. It don't happen. I get it. I've been there.
Well, and it's fine that it's going to take a few weeks, because it almost gives me time to think exactly what I'm going to do with it, because I'm not going to be, I'll say this on every interview. I'm not going to be one of those guys that had a good career and made 6 figures a few times and then is back working at Carrabba's or back, having to hold mitts and, looking for a job right after. I want to set myself up. So the main thing I want to do with this money is either put it in some real estate, put it in some type of investments, put it into my own business, put it into something that's going to pay me, for the rest of my life, or at least start, with some asset building.
Yeah, set yourself up. I mean, like guys like Phil Rowe, he's just had his second UFC fight,
Mhm.
got a nice win. He opened a bump box store.
I
Bump
saw
box
that. I saw.
yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
it's great, dude, that he's doing that. Because like you, he is not going to be that guy that the athlete story. Oh, he spent all his money, he bought cars,
Yeah.
he bought this, and now he's broke and he's working at Blockbuster Video. So
Yeah.
I get it, dude, and
That's the saddest thing to see.
it really is, and it's um, and I feel bad for guys that paved the way in the UFC because they really didn't get a lot of money. So
Mhm.
and while fighter pay is always going to be an issue, everybody believes you guys deserve more. I'm sure you guys believe you deserve more.
Mhm.
You guys go out there and put it on the line. But you guys are doing better now than the guys that started before you, and the next wave 10 years from now is going to get better. Every day is a building block toward getting to that, and hopefully you'll still be in the UFC when that
Mhm.
the equity and pay comes up because
Yes.
you're fighting your ass off and you deserve it.
Mhm.
And I'm not just saying that to you because we have some history and everything.
Yep.
I'm saying that to you because you're a fighter in the UFC and you put your ass on the line every fucking time you walk into a cage, and you're risking it. I mean, you could be injured for permanently and not be able to even have a regular
Mhm.
career after fighting. So
Yeah.
it's such a risk reward thing that the reward has to come up. And I believe it's going to have to because at some point, the fighters, all of them are just going to get together regardless of their status, and they're just going to revolt. Everybody except for maybe Connor, because Connor's on a different stratosphere when it comes to
Yeah.
finances, and he's earned it, but he's put in the, and, he's done it. He's put eyes on, so I can't shit on the guy for his hustle and what he's done.
Mhm.
You have fought in Vegas now. What is it? 4 times?
No, it's I fought in the Apex 5 times.
So 5 times in the Apex. That's
At
why
the
I was trying
Apex,
to
and then I fought in the Ultimate Fighter twice there. So I fought there
that's
7 times.
But 5 fights that go on record. So 5 pro
Yep.
fights. When you have Jason House and the guys from Iridium negotiating your next contract, are you going to see if they can put a stipulation in where Billy Q only fights in Vegas and periodically in New York City?
Well,
it's funny because you're on
yeah.
such a run. It's like that's home court for you at this point.
Mhm.
Billy Q's got the home court advantage anywhere in the Apex. So I'd be like, Jason, tell these guys I'm only fighting in the Apex.
Dude, it's funny you say that. It's actually like literally the opposite right now. I've told Jason, and I talked to Dana White in between the second and third round. He was right behind me, and I was like, Dana, I'm like, I love this Apex, but I'm sick of fighting here. Like I got into, I'm still a huge fan of the sport, and I started off as a fan, and I always thought it was cool. First of all, the fans, like just having fans there. The Apex had a few hundred people, but it wasn't like they weren't like hardcore UFC fans like that you're used to seeing. So first of all, the fans, like just having those fans there again. I've only gotten that experience once. I've been doing good. I've been winning fights, so like I hope that earns fighting in front of a crowd. But I also just grew up thinking it was cool that like going to other places and fighting all over the world, especially going to like. Imagine going to like fighting someone from England in London, or going to like Canada and fighting a Canadian, or fighting in my hometown, fighting in Buffalo, or fighting in New York City, or fighting in Tampa, or somewhere like that. So I've always been drawn to traveling, and like almost like back in the day, like different armies would go and they would conquer other parts of the world. Same type of thing. So it's almost the opposite. It's almost like we'll fight anywhere. But if we have to fight at the Apex, we'll do it anyway. But it's basically fight anywhere with fans first, then fight at the Apex if they really want me to. And I do have home court advantage there. I feel like I'm so comfortable. I think we did the calculation today. I've spent almost 6 weeks in the Residence Inn in the past year. Like, so from my last fight to like, if you mark that a year, I spent 6 weeks out of that year there. So it adds up. So I'm really comfortable there, if that makes sense.
Oh, well, that's good. I mean, it's like your backup. If you go out, you win a couple on the road, and then you lose, and you go, all right, man, I need to go back to Vegas, get myself restarted again.
Go to the Apex, beat someone there.
Let me go back, beat somebody up. That's my house,
Mm-hmm.
So my boy Forrest wants to know. He's got where was this question? Oh, there it is. I'm going to put on the screen. It said, Billy Q, what do you like most about the UFC, and what don't you really like about the UFC? You don't have to answer the second part if you don't want to. Because
Yeah,
you
no,
don't
I'm
wanna
trying
get
to
yourself
figure
in
out.
trouble.
What do I like about the UFC? Well, the UFC, if you don't know, obviously it's just been like my dream to get to the highest level of any sport. I didn't really know what that was when I was growing up. I didn't know what that sport was going to be, and I wasn't like super athletic. I wasn't like a great runner, like wasn't like super fast. Played football, played hockey, but wasn't like a standout. So I never knew what that was going to be. And by the time I was like 17, 18, 19, I thought either that goal was never going to become a reality or it's going to be MMA. Like it got to the point where I'm like, man, I love MMA, but like I would love to, learn how to fight. And then that quickly turned into, all right, let's see if we can do this full time. And to do it full time, you got to make some money. And to make some money, you got to get to the UFC. And I also loved watching the UFC at the time. So just getting in the UFC, the thing I love most is, one, it's my dream job. And I've always wanted jobs where like I don't necessarily have like a hands-on boss that's like always telling me what to do and making me do stuff I don't want to do. So I got a great situation at my gym, Gracie Tampa South. Me and Matt Arroyo are our boys. So he doesn't really tell me what to do. Dana White and those guys, they tell me who to fight, and I'm okay with it. So it's like I get that type of job. So my favorite thing that I've worked for so many years that I have now is like that flexibility. The thing I like the least about like what I'm doing, and it's not even the UFC, it's just MMA in general, is definitely cutting weight. Cutting weight is such a bitch. It's like, man, I don't even know. Like, I would just love it if they could, and they can't do it, and that's why they don't do it. I would love it if we could just basically be like, me and this guy are going to fight. We're both going to meet at 160 or 155, even though we're both 15 pounds heavier. Like cut a little bit of weight. But everyone, like I don't cut as much as most people, but I cut a decent amount of weight.
Where do you walk?
The most I'll get up to is like 170. Is like the most I'll get to.
So you start a fight camp, 170, 160, somewhere between that range, I'm guessing.
Yep.
So you can get yourself down to 145. So have you ever considered just getting down to 45 and then walking at 50? This way the weight cut doesn't kill you. And the reason I bring that up is because, and I've said this on a couple of shows recently because it's just something that keeps sticking in my head about weight cutting, and I just hate it for you guys because at the end of the day, you start your camp at 170, cut down to 45. Your opponent's probably starting his camp at 165, 170, cutting down to 45. So the advantage that both of you guys are looking for physically negates each other because you both did the same thing. You both end up blowing back up the same way.
Yeah.
Neither of you are 100% hydrated, in your body or in your brain, and you're probably not at 100% power. So I don't see the point in having the weight cut because you're not getting the advantage. But then I think of a guy like Frankie Edgar. Now, Frankie Edgar, when he was the lightweight champion of the world, Frankie Edgar walked at 156, went to the fucking toilet and got on the scale 155 and then fought on fight night again at 155, 156, wherever he weighed in. And he beat guys that were bigger than him on fight night because he was at 100%. So has that ever, and that's why I always tell people, in my mind, he's the greatest lightweight champion. I know Khabib has all this undefeated and all that stuff, but Khabib, fought probably, on fight night, he's probably walking in there at 180, 185, and fighting guys the same size. So to me, the way Frankie did it is a bigger accomplishment in my mind, and that's why I give him the nod. Has that been something you ever considered to maybe try to do? Because for me, you're incredible right now, but I'm just imagining, if you only cut 5 pounds, during fight camp, to get to 145, and then, you go back up to 150 on fight night, a couple pounds, because that's still close enough where your recovery is going to be like that. You're going to be 100% everything, especially in your brain. And I think that gives you the advantage over the guy who cut to 145 and weighs 170. You might be a little bit bigger fight night, but you're going to be fresher and stronger.
Yeah, the problem with that is Frankie Edgar is the exception to the rule. You know what I mean? Like, he was able to do that because he was easily, like, technical wise, like technique and skill set wise, he was easily the best 155er in the world, skill wise. You know what I mean? And him having a size, like, because basically he had a size disadvantage. Gray Maynard was twice as, like, it looked like he was twice the size. And Even BJ Penn was bigger than him, and BJ
Everybody
Penn was a smaller 55er. So the problem with that is if I was only like, I would basically have to move up a weight class, because if I get to 150, the only time I get to 150 is if I already did a water load and then I basically start cutting and start depleting myself. And that's when I'll get to 150 and then to 146 eventually. Right. So the problem with me once I get to 150, if I got there naturally, I would have to be at a dehydrated state to stay at 150. You know what I mean? The next problem would be, even if I was hydrated and I just slowly got down to 150 and stayed at 150, it's going to take me a long time to get to 150 naturally. And by the time I get to 150, if I go in and fight at 145, I'm definitely going to have a size disadvantage. You know, I'm going to be smaller and maybe even weaker than my opponent, because he's going to blow back up to maybe 165. So where I am going to have a recovery advantage, if he's a guy with good cardio anyway, and his body's used to doing it, like my body's used to doing it now.
Sure.
And he's used to doing it. The only thing I really did for myself was make the day of weigh-ins easier. But now I'm going to be at a disadvantage because my stomach's going to be shrunken. My body's going to be shrunken. It's going to be naturally, or, you know, we say naturally, but it's going to be comfortable at 150. So I'm not going to get much bigger. And then that person's going to have at least 10, 15 pounds on me, which could mean a huge difference. So that's the problem with it. If I moved up to 155, it's definitely possible where I could actually put some muscle on. But then you're fighting guys who are 6'3" that are cutting, you know, and cutting that, and you're just gonna have that size there. So that's why I've accepted it, and I've actually, like this last fight, and that was another reason I was so confident. I actually made weight, kind of like what you were saying. I made weight 12 hours before weigh-in, so I made weight the night before the fight, and so I was a little bit smaller this fight than I was in the Tucker fight, but I was in better shape, so that's why it really didn't matter.
Yeah, no, and you know, I brought it up for a guy like you but you know, I also got to remember, you know, you're not a small 45. I mean, you know, if you're walking at 165, you know, up to 170 at times, you know, you're a larger size guy, so maybe 145 for you, because Frankie was also a small, lightweight, like stature-wise. I mean, he's I don't think he's bigger than me, and you know, I'm not big, so
and you see that now he's fighting at 135. Yeah, he's kind of doing what most people have always done, you know, like that most people already do.
Yeah, it's weird. So, you know, it's funny. And when it looks like guys from 155, when they decide, you know, they need to change their weight, most of them go up. There are some that go down. And then anybody from 140 goes down. You know, you're not going to go from 145 and all of a sudden fight at 205, you know. It's too much of a disadvantage at that point. And I like the way you broke it down, because it's a legit answer, and I get it. I just, you know, I think that weight cutting is going to have to stop at some point, because, you know, we're going to start seeing more people that, you know, as bigger opportunities pop up. I think, you know, some guys are too willing to, you know, kill themselves, you know, to get that opportunity, that they'll do more things that they should that might not be healthy for their body. And, you know, I don't like seeing the stories when guys, you know, they go to walk on the scale and they pass out, or girls, you know, any fighter, you know, and they're passed out and their bodies are dehydrated, their livers are failing, and their kidneys are, you know, shutting down. It's so bad for your body. And even if you cut weight well, like you do, you know, you don't have it. I've never seen you miss weight. And you know, I don't know what your struggles have been making weight, if you've had any, but if you do, you don't really show it publicly. So that's fine too. But I don't like knowing what you guys go through to get to fight night, because it's hard on your body, and it's going to take a toll somewhere later in life. No matter how good you do it, your body isn't meant to do this, so it's like crazy. And I'm glad that, you know, some guys fight 3 or 4 times a year, you know, because I don't want anybody trying to cut weight, you know, every month. That's
8 times, I
mean, like Oven St. Preux, I love him, he's a good guy, but man, he was cutting weight a lot, because he had one year where he was doing Strike Force, and they got moved to the UFC, and he did like 8 or 9 fights in like 14 or 15 months. I was just like, that's fucking nuts.
Yeah, that's
a career for some people. So, you said you wanted to really think about what you want to do with your bonus money. Is there anything fun that you wanted to do? Like, you know, like maybe, you know, add, you know, tires and wheels to your car, or, you know, get yourself a fucking little gaming setup that, you know, you wanted because you like to do that. is there something that you will spend that's a little frivolous, but not over, let's say $5,000 or less. So 10% of your bonus. Is there anything that you want to do that's in that price range that's, fun, just for you or for you and your wife or?
There's definitely a few things. And, I probably spent, at least that on the honeymoon, just, buying, it felt good just to put pay for everything right there. She doesn't have to worry about a thing. I'm buying dinners everywhere. It's nice to have that feeling, especially coming, right off the fight. Things for myself, like I bought her a nice, a couple nice things. So we got a new couch, which is not really for me. It was more for her. One thing that I've done for a few of my UFC fights, living in the great state of Florida, where I have my pistol permit or my conceal permit, is I bought new guns after a few of like my big wins. So after I bought my first gun a long time ago, while I was just a pro fighter. And then after the Spike fight, I bought like an AR, like an actual, like a rifle. So I bought a nice gun. I bought a nice gun after that, got it all set up and everything. And then after the Kyle Nelson fight, I bought like this little like mini Kimber. So I like use that as like my carry now, especially where I'm wearing like gym shorts and stuff. So that was an idea after this fight, is like buying like something, either like I was looking at like these old school AKs that I liked, or some sort of like long distance rifle. I don't really do much hunting, but I think I could get into that. That's something that I might do post career. So I might get a gun, a victory gun that I can always look at and be like, oh, that was when you beat so-and-so. That was when you beat so-and-so. Besides that, like maybe like a gold chain or like something like that. And then I've always wanted to get a Rolex, but it's not going to be after this fight, because I don't want to spend more than like 10 grand and not, I don't want to spend like 10 or 15% or whatever of my fight purse on something that's not going to appreciate. So before I buy something for me that's like more than like 10 grand, I'm definitely going to invest. Maybe this fight, I might invest all this money into like an asset, or like just invest it. And then the next fight, where I already did that, like I already bought a big asset or started my own business, the next fight is when I might go out and buy a new Rolex, or buy a couple new suits, or like a new chain, or like, some kind of crazy gun that like, nice. You see on you see in like the military.
Yep. I think you're onto something. After every victory, you should buy yourself a new firearm. Mm-hmm. And, if it's a rifle or a handgun, and then you should somewhere on there get a little plate and put the guy's name.
Like initial, yeah.
Put the guy's name you beat. So, Spike Carlisle, boom, that's one. I got this because of Spike Carlisle. And that would be kind of cool, be a little tribute. The guys might be pissed that you're on your gun, but whatever, man. You earned the right to put them there, So yeah. It's kind of poetic, you're going into a battle, most people think of battles with guns and weapons and stuff. So this was your Spike Carlisle one.
Yeah, dude, I like that idea.
This is your Gabriel Benitez rifle, because you sniped him out there,
I like it.
So it's good stuff. Well, listen, man, I kept you on a lot longer than I had planned on, because I know you still have to go to the gym and stuff.
That's all good.
So before I let you go, a couple things. One, I want to say thank you as always, man, and congratulations on the big win. I see your future getting really bright, dude. And I remember that one picture of you I got from Orlando where you had the shades on. You're going to need some really fucking polarizing dark shades, dude, because the future's about to really brighten up for you.
Oh, man, thank you.
I see definitely top 15 for you. That should be your next opponent. Thank you, Forrest. Before you go, give everybody your social media so they can keep up with you. And, if you're a gamer, give them your gamer tag if you want to play games with fans, because I'm not a gamer, but I have noticed that gamers and gamer fans, fighters that are gamers, the fans love it and they love to interact that way. And you guys, UFC fighters and MMA fighters in general, are clearly, in my opinion, the most accessible to their fan base, and willingly so. That's something I always try to, promote. So if you got something like that and you don't mind playing with the fans, throw it out there, brother.
Yeah, and, definitely. Yes. So appreciate the shout out, and anytime you want. I love talking to people who anyone, there's a group of people that talked to me before I was in the UFC, and I'll always give them, time. So thank you for having me. Yeah, follow me on Instagram and Twitter, Billy Q MMA. Super simple. Twitter, especially, I try to communicate with people the most. And then anyone who lives in Tampa, I don't know if you're covering this, but we have 3 fighters that I want to give, plug by 3 guys. They're fighting for the CFFC, which is coming to Tampa. It's coming to the Hard Rock in Tampa. It's going to be a great show. Will Rentz, Jesse Romano, and Dave Romano all fighting. Those are like 3 of my guys that train at Gracie Tampa South. They're 3 out of like, maybe I got about 6 or 7 guys who I think have a chance to eventually, you'll see in the UFC. Those 3 are definitely 3 of like the top guys that I think are even in Tampa right now. Will Rentz, Jesse Romano, who's fighting an amateur fight, then Dave Romano. Dave Romano and Will Rentz are making their pro debuts. They're guys who, Will was undefeated, 5-0 with 4 vicious knockouts. Dave Romano 7-3, and he's going pro. And like I said, they're just savages. They remind me of myself when I was coming up. So the CFFC, huge opportunity, UFC Fight Pass. If you're in Tampa, go support them. It's going to be a great card. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be coaching, and then I'm inviting all my friends there too. So it's going to be a good night.
Awesome. And we still have to get you to come down to Rivers and do a party out there with us for a UFC event. So we're going to get that set up too.
I'm down, man. I'm down when I'm ready when you guys are.
Because I know you're going to pack the house, and
I am.
Awesome. I know you are, dude. Like I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I wish we could have done it sooner, but you had so much going on with getting married and everything else, fights. So, but we're going to get you in there before the end of the year, and we're going to go Billy Q style at Rivers one night, and Tampa is going to fucking have one of the most memorable fucking parties that night ever.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
God bless you and your family, dude. Happy for you and the wife and all that. That you guys are going to be together forever, and then forever, ever, ever, and ever. Yeah, that's
there you go. Ever.
And you just keep doing it, man. I can't wait to get your next fight announcement. Hopefully it'll be soon, and hopefully it'll be out of state for you or out of the country. Maybe on one of these Abu Dhabi cards they got coming up. That would be pretty fucking dope. And we'll just keep, riding along and watching Billy Q take over the world of the UFC in the featherweight division. And then, who knows, maybe champ status later on down the road, champ, go up.
We're working.
We don't know. We don't know.
I'll do everything it takes, man.
Oh, all right. Well, listen, you enjoy the rest of your day, man. Have a good night at the gym tonight, man. Like I said, God bless you and your family. And thank you for taking the time, man. Always an honor to have you on the show, Billy.
All right, Chris. Appreciate you, brother. Have a good one. Later.
Peace. All right, boys and girls, that was my man, Billy Quarantillo. He is a fucking badass. That's right, man. He gets shit done. He does it the right way. Fully fun. He goes out there and works hard, trains hard at Gracie Tampa South with Matt Arroyo. Gracie Tampa South is part of the whole Gracie Tampa chain started by Rob Kahn. They produce a lot of great talent out of there, and Billy Q is just rolling up the fucking world, rolling up that ranking time, and don't be surprised if we see him in the top 10 sooner rather than later. All right. Well, that's going to finish up episode 299. So that's today. Episode 300. Wow. Of all the years I've been doing this, I'm like 300 episodes fucking in different incarnations of Cage Fight with Christopher James, from doing it on TV, from FM radio, and now to streaming live around the world. So episode 300 is coming your way next at 6:30. And I'm going to be talking with Queen Kong, Naomi Young, the new XFN strawweight champion, sorry. And I'm going to be talking with El Bandito himself, Elvin. Leon Brito joining us on the show ahead of his bout at BKFC 20 on August 20th, 2020. Mind blown. Anyway, thanks for joining us today, and thanks for taking the time to be part of this and be part of my life and allow me to be a part of yours. But until next time, boys and girls, you're right here. And next time is only about 45 minutes away. So until next time, boys and girls, I am Christopher James. You have been Cage Side, and we'll see you at 6:30. Peace out, everybody.
What happens if you lose, Nick?
Who the hell is Aquaman?
I get Fruity Pebbles, Cocoa Pebbles, I get sausage biscuit. Maybe you guys will see a little footage of that later on because we got some good stuff.
Philip the Deuces. There you go, baby.